Something nobody expected just appeared in Capcom's latest financial report for Monster Hunter Wilds. Not even their own leadership would have expected this, because in the first month, Wilds sold 10 million copies. That's utterly extraordinary. But then came the following quarter, after its launch quarter, where it sold just 477,000 units. Obviously, that's still a lot of games, but Capcom's own board called these numbers, quote, soft. Now, with that in mind, look at this latest quarter. It has sold just 160,000 copies. That is basically a third of what Capcom called soft. So that means it's fair to say that Monster Hunter Wilds sales have utterly collapsed. Capcom has entered a perfect storm of problems here, where their hopes have slammed into the cold wall that is the games industry in 2025. Do you know what's really annoying though? Hacks, like say the apparent Discord story that's been breaking in the news right now. And basically, security breaches and invasive people search sites are just a common thing these days, and it's why I use today's sponsor, Incogni, because they're our way to fight back. You see, whenever data leaks, data brokers harvest it and then they sell it on. So if you've ever wondered how a spam caller got your number, it's actually often that. And Incogni solves this problem by automating the legal work that you would otherwise have to do manually to get your data taken down. And if you join at incogni.com/bellularnews, you'll get 60% off an annual plan. And here's how it works, right? You enter your info, and that's it. It just works. It's all automatic and they just take it from there. You see, you have a legal right to get your data taken down, but that takes hours and it's also not permanent. What Incogni does is automatically scan all of the brokers, they send takedown requests, and they add you to suppression lists. They do that all automatically and they constantly rescan so your data is kept down. Just look at my own personal dashboard. 217 sent, 2 in progress, 215 completed, and I'm on 26 suppression lists. And for things that are even more pesky, they have amazing features like their new custom removals one. So ultimately, it's peace of mind that you can get at incogni.com/bellularnews, and that's where you'll get 60% off the annual plan, so check them out using my link today. Here's what's wild about this story. Take a look at what else sold during the same 6 months covered by Capcom's half-year report, and you see this. The 6-year-old Devil May Cry 5 outsold Wilds. Every single Resident Evil remake outsold Wilds. Street Fighter 6, which is 2 years old, it also outsold Wilds, and even the Devil May Cry HD collection from 2018 beat it. That's insane, right? Because overall, that is every major franchise game Capcom tracked selling more than Monster Hunter Wilds, the big shiny new Monster Hunter. And that even includes the previous Monster Hunter from 4 years ago. For a taste of that, Monster Hunter Rise sold 254,000 copies this quarter. So that is the 4-year-old game beating the new one by nearly 100,000 units. Which is kind of wild, and just think about what that means. Your flagship launch is getting outsold by its predecessor and by your entire back catalog. That's the kind of performance that should be ringing alarm bells. But actually, there's a reason why it isn't. You see, the financial report reveals a lot more than just Monster Hunter having struggles, because actually, other stuff's doing amazing. Devil May Cry just had a hyper-popular animated series release. Not all of the core fans love it, but at least it seems to have correlated with copies of that game flying off the shelves. Well, the digital shelves. Then there's Resident Evil Requiem's announcement that would have sparked renewed interest across the whole franchise. Street Fighter just got a Switch 2 port and a new season of characters. So ultimately, while Wild sales have utterly collapsed, and that is true, Capcom have still managed to post their highest ever unit and catalog sales. I mean, hell, their entertainment equipment division grew 378% year on year. Now, no, that's not them launching a console. It is, of course, pachinko parlors and patchy slots and all of that fun stuff over in Japan. But as for Wilds itself, I mean, yeah, those numbers are soft. But here's the sort of crazy thing. It's still the second best selling game of the year in the US as of September. NBA 2K26 only just displaced it. And of course, it was always going to do that. It's the big sports game, and one that's really loved in America. Well, people play it. They're often angry with the company who makes it, but I mean, hey, that's not really news. Now, Monster Hunter Wilds' weak trailing sales are basically just disappointing, but they're not going to cause an overall panic at the top. Not yet, at least, because overall, the health of Capcom is actually really good. And they'll have seen the pattern, which is this. Every one of those back catalog games has a reason to be selling right now. There's external momentum, new content, platform launches. Essentially, Capcom doing something and actually getting rewarded in sales. So, what about Wilds? Why is it not getting the same boost? Why is it not getting the same boost even as people are still buying Monster Hunter Rise in droves? For the easy answer, just take a look at Steam. We see 29% positivity in the recent reviews, 48% positive overall, and of course the performance problems do remain the major issue. And the promised performance plan from Capcom, well, it's not going to be kicking off fully until the winter, so loads of the problems still exist within the game. And by those metrics alone, Monster Hunter Wilds is a bad game, right? It's got a bad review score. Obviously, no one would buy a game with a score like that, even say when it's 30% off on the Steam Autumn sale. But there is a little thing that doesn't add up here, and it might be what Capcom are holding on to. Because since September's content update started, the concurrent player count of this game has actually risen, and it's now the best that it's seen in 6 months. So people are playing Monster Hunter Wilds more right now. They're just not convincing their friends to buy it. And with every new update, people keep on leaving negative reviews, to the point where they're slowly accumulating, whilst the positives are staying flat. But here's the thing. It's not just a problem on PC. We found something else out from their report, and it's that Capcom leadership expected their main audience to be in PlayStation, but they weren't really in PlayStation. Now, Capcom blamed the PS5 prices, audiences' inability to upgrade to the console, basically a bunch of external factors. And of course, the actual console versions of this game do perform well. They're technically solid, but for some reason, people still aren't buying them. Instead, Capcom are left with the majority of sales being in PC. So here's the real question that's facing Capcom. Has Wilds already reached most of its addressable market? Has it actually just sold so well in its first month that everyone who would care has already got it? And that the pool of PS5 owners who would be interested in the game is just way smaller than Capcom basically hoped for. And, well, you know, it's not on PS4, which has still got a humongous install base. So that's not the only headwind. Wilds, of course, is lacking the external marketing catalyst that boosted Devil May Cry, right? There's no Netflix series dropping. And I guess without a much cheaper price point, they're basically stuck. They've got to fix the PC complaints, slash prices, and wait. But beyond that, it seems their options are limited, and that this game has hit its launch goals, but it just hasn't hit them where they planned to hit them. Okay, look at the bets Capcom made. They planned PlayStation as the flagship platform for this game, but this generation of consoles is barely outpacing the previous generation of consoles, and the PS5 audience that they expected basically doesn't exist yet. It does exist, there's just not as much of it. And meanwhile, a lot of other things have changed. Younger generations are spending 25% less in games this year, and one study suggests that 63% of players are buying fewer than 2 games a year. So basically, people buy things they absolutely want at launch, but otherwise they just wait for deeper discounts, and they're not spending as much money. And we can see that games have a long shelf life now. I mean, in this story, Capcom's back catalog pretty much proves that. And that creates another problem. If the prior game has got more content, solid performance, and costs less, why upgrade? Why buy the new one? I mean, Rise at full price still undercuts Wilds with a 30% discount. And that says to me that 30% is just not enough of a discount to actually move the needle psychologically. And perhaps it's the case that with games, generally speaking, being more expensive now, yeah, you got a 30% discount, but the principal number is of course starting off being a lot larger. So that basically means, I think, that sales could take longer than they would have used to, and that maybe they need more external catalysts like new platform launches or big transmedia narrative things to actually get a game back into people's minds. So what we see is that launches can still succeed at reaching core audiences, the people who will just buy on brand alone. But everyone else actually needs convincing, and it seems the games industry has got to fight for its dollars quite a bit harder than in the past. And that is why Capcom can't easily expand beyond the audience that they've already reached. Basically, the industry in 2025 is simply different. So what can Capcom actually do about any of this? Well, there is of course fixing up the PC performance issues. That will help the Steam reviews, and maybe once that's done, it'll be time to do the deeper discounts. And I think the deeper discounts will actually be needed to move that sales needle. That's just how visibility works on Steam. But I think that's not the real lesson of today. We need to look at what's actually happening, where across premium games, people have got more choices than ever, and in many cases, better games. and they've also got less money. So outside of hardcore player bases, people are buying fewer games. We've seen a lot of surveys and a lot of data to suggest that, and that just means fewer chances being taken without some form of external push to poke your little human psychology to, you know, go and actually click the button and buy the game. So in that world, it'll be about the slow trickle of sales for years and years to come. That's basically Capcom's reality. And their other games prove it, and actually prove it in a good way. And the funny thing is, there's been this long-standing theory that gaming is recession-proof, because in a way, it's leisure, and generally, it's pretty good value for money leisure. But 2025 is actually testing that theory. And the question is which part of gaming it will actually apply to. Will it apply to premium AAA launches like this that are a big upfront cost? Or would it apply more to live service games where it's death by many financial cuts? Now, the good news for Capcom is they can still rely on massive launch bumps and then real good long-tail catalog sales. That's a business model that's great when you've got a deep back catalog like their one. But the smaller publishers and the smaller developers, well, they may not last long enough to appreciate that. You guys would be shocked if you knew it how many times a game studio goes bust, and then those royalties just go to the publisher. It can be a pretty dog-eat-dog world. And if you'll pardon an unhinged segue, the biggest of those dogs is your boy Jeff and Amazon. And Amazon have some fresh slop for you, and it's not just any slop, it's Snoop slop. You can learn all about it in this video next.